Alison, before we get into the nitty-gritty about what we want to talk about, for the benefit of those who don't know, what is Bath Bid? What is it you do, and how are you financed?
So Bath Biz is a partnership of more than 650 businesses in the city centre, and they all make a small contribution, actually added onto their business rates, into a pot that is then used by the Bath Bid team to deliver things that we have laid out in a 5-year plan. So in order to create a bid, you have to have a 5-year plan and you have a voting process, but the only people who are involved in the investment into the bid and the activities of the bid are actually the business community.
So you exist to promote Bath and its business?
Yes, we've got several aims, but the one that captures them all is to help businesses to be more successful. Yeah.
Now, it strikes me that you're doing a lot of jobs that people might expect the local authority to do. Your chaps are out cleaning the streets. You provide these wonderful floral displays like the one behind you, that you consider part of your job to keep Bath clean, to make it look nice and encourage tourists to visit.
Well, one of our other sort of aims, I guess, is to make Bath a welcoming city. That we think that, and actually making a city welcoming comes in many forms. And we work ever so closely with the council, and we actually have a signed agreement. So what isn't happening here, it's not the businesses taking over the council's responsibility, it's the businesses saying we're willing to invest in additional activity to make the city a bit more clean than it would be if we were just relying on the same council services as anywhere else. Or, you know, we'll pay for flowers, or we'll pay for security marshals, or, you know, those kinds of projects. So it's the businesses investing in their place, I guess.
Now, we haven't currently got a tourist information centre, but you've got your ambassadors greeting people getting off the train at Bath Spa Station.
Yeah, we're really proud of that project. So lots of other towns say to me, how do you persuade people to come and volunteer for you in that way? And I always answer, it's because there are people who really love Bath, and we're so privileged that those people are willing to spend their time working with us. And some of them say that supporting the Bath Bid with the Welcome Ambassador activity is the best volunteer gig in Bath. So anyone thinking about it, I'd urge you to get in touch.
Now, when we talk about welcoming people to Bath, you've been getting a bit of unwelcome social media criticism from those who don't like what you've been putting in the streets, especially during the city's Jubilee celebrations. All these natural-looking planters, which some people say do not suit a city like Bath. What would you like to say to your critics?
Well, I'd like to say that they were temporary, so it would be inappropriate for us to spend, you know, the fortunes of money that it costs. For example, it was thousands of pounds to create the planters in Union Street, and we're not working on that sort of level. I don't know if you remember, there was also ever such a lot of criticism on social media about the fact that we didn't have bunting everywhere. So one of the things we did to try and address that disappointment was to create purple planters in the spirit of the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. And we have permission to put planters in certain locations. We work with the highways team to make sure that they don't create obstacles. And inside some of the planters we put some signs, because businesses, I don't know, you know, I'm sure everybody's aware, but the small independent businesses in streets like this are concerned about getting enough people through the door. And if people don't find them, then they can't succeed.
Now, that signage has gone now. You've removed it all, but I can remember walking by one of them and being very pleased to see you'd put the lanes up there. And those that follow Bath Museum will know that I've campaigned for a long time that these narrow little streets like the one we're standing in would get a lot more traffic, a lot more footfall if there was a sign pointing to the lanes. And in an historic city like Bath, why can't you give an area a new name? I mean, Baines is busy at the moment, pretty well carving up the city into quarters. So what's wrong with Bath Lanes?
Well, I don't know what's wrong, but I certainly wasn't expecting threats of violence from social media for suggesting a name. And it wasn't my suggestion. Obviously, I think we were influenced by the businesses who I suspect were influenced by you in that piece that you did, a few years ago. But actually, it was the businesses who are trying to find an identity for this area. And we know that this particular street used to be called Cox Lane, so it's not mad to suggest that this area could be lanes. They feel like lanes. They could be alleyways. They could be passages, but lanes was what they very much wanted to experiment with. And what we've agreed with the businesses was, while that sign was up, was that they would analyse the feedback from any customers and see whether it worked. I have to say, we didn't anticipate the feedback from, well, I don't know who they are, but all the anonymous people that are so outraged. But that's all useful feedback, and it'll go back into their decision as a group of businesses as to what they want to do, whether they want to create entry points to this kind of cross section, and whether they want to call themselves the Bath Lanes or something else. And I don't think they're suggesting that the streets themselves should change their names. It's just a name in the same way that the Bath Abbey Quarter has called themselves the Bath Abbey Quarter.
Milsom Quarter.
There's the Milsom Quarter, there's the Walcott Artisan Quarter, and
yes.
They're branding initiatives, and I hope that all of your viewers and listeners would be up for anything that we can do that supports these fantastic independent businesses who are still here after 2 years of horrors, and still trying to get people infused. And we didn't just obviously come up with the lanes as the sign rather. We've also put some planters in. We arranged for a bin to be moved sideways that was creating a sort of mental block as people entered. So we've tried to take a holistic approach with it, and actually one of the next things that is going to happen is that the businesses are going to come together and create a sort of association so that they can take that work forward.
Well, that's brilliant. And as I tell people, Bath Museum is not a newspaper. It's my blog, it's my opinion, and I think Bath Lanes is a good idea. Now, I think you'll agree, Bath has a general problem with signage at the moment. We've got those huge, great monoliths with the circular maps on them, still showing things like the coach park. Oh, and Bath Information Centre, places that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time for us to look again at signage in the city, and we are working with the Public Realm team on some short-term fixes for those monoliths. And the problem is that they're incredibly classy. They were very, very expensive, and so anything we do in the future, you've got to weigh up the initial investment versus new investment, and certainly way beyond anything the bid could achieve with our tiny budget. But a lot of the businesses would say that they would really like to see the return of fingerposts, because the thing about fingerposts is it doesn't rely on you being able to read a map, and it acts as a prompt. So you might see a fingerpost that says House of Frankenstein and Jane Austen Centre and go, oh, I didn't even know there was a Jane Austen Centre. I'll go up there and have a look. And so actually it helps to educate people about what there is available. And our welcome ambassadors will tell you that one of the most common questions that people ask when they get off the train, when they've just arrived in Bath, is, I've got 3 hours, what shall I do? So we imagine that everybody's online, planning their journeys really carefully, and actually they're not. They're just going, oh, how nice, let's go out for a day in Bath. And really, we need to help them with that.
We don't have a tourist information centre, a city the size of Bath with its thousands and thousands of annual tourists. That can't be right, surely.
We're not the only city without a tourist information centre. But there are other models for delivering tourist information, and I think that we're quite interested in having that having that dialogue with the council and visit West and seeing what we can achieve, where we can create a more permanent presence for our welcome ambassadors. There's definitely an opportunity, because obviously while they're out and about on the streets, there isn't one place that people can know that they're going to find them. And it aligns very much with the work that we've done around our Welcome to Bath website, which is supposed to be, when you arrive and say, I've got 3 hours, you can look on Welcome to Bath and see what there is to do today. So I think, we've definitely, we've definitely got an interest and an opportunity to support some version of a tourist information, and we're having those conversations. But they're expensive to run, and so I think, we have to decide who pays for it. I think it comes down to, as always.
Could I finally ask you, in your opinion, is Bath showing evidence of recovering from the pandemic? Are visitor levels going up?
Yeah, so our footfall is strong. It goes up and down, and I definitely think what we're seeing is fewer people midweek and more people at weekends. We've seen a really strong recovery in the nighttime economy. So from sort of 9 p.m. onwards, we're definitely back at pre-2019 levels, whereas the daytime is a bit slower. That's not surprising, because people aren't necessarily back at the office. So, the people using a city is quite complicated. So it's not just visitors. There's the office workers and and the residents as well. And it's really important that we see the kind of whole picture. But the other thing that's really positive is we get information from Visa about which nationalities are spending money on their Visa card, and we're really seeing a pickup in international visitors, particularly Americans and French people, actually. So I think that's very positive to see. Yeah, and you can hear them actually in our office as they walk past.